The body consists of four major macromolecules: lipids, proteins, carbohydrates, and nucleic acids. These macromolecules are polymers, which are relatively large materials made up of repeating smaller units. These smaller pieces are building blocks called monomers. You can think of monomers as pieces to a puzzle. The monomers of nucleic acids are known as nucleotides. There are two major types of nucleic acids: DNA and RNA. You can think of nucleic acids as the brains of the operation when it comes to the macromolecules. Each nucleotide monomer consists of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, and phosphorus. A good way to remember this is CHNOP. These elements make up the three major parts of nucleotides: the nitrogenous base, the 5-carbon sugar, and one or more phosphate groups. There are 4 different types of nitrogenous bases in DNA: adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine. And in RNA, there is a 5th base called uracil, which replaces thymine. Each nitrogenous base differs in structure, but they may be divided into 2 subcategories: pyrimidines and purines. Cytosine, thymine, and uracil are pyrimidines, which only have 1 ring, and adenine and guanine are purines, which have 2. The sugars in DNA and RNA also have differences. In DNA, the sugar is called deoxyribose, whereas in RNA, it's ribose. Nucleotide monomers are combined through phosphodiester bonds. This dehydration synthesis attaches the oxygen on the 3rd carbon of one nucleotide to the phosphate group protruding off the 5th carbon on the other nucleotide. These linkages form what's known as the phosphate sugar backbone of nucleic acids. Nucleic acids in general have 2 major structural configurations. DNA is the double helix made up of 2 complementary strands attached by the nitrogenous bases with hydrogen bonds. RNA is usually single-stranded. I say usually because there are instances when RNA forms more complex configurations. There are many different types of RNA, all with different functions. This last slide is a review chart having to compare DNA and RNA. The overall function of nucleic acids has to deal with genetic information. DNA stores the genetic information, while RNA uses it to regulate gene expression and to make proteins. To reiterate, nucleic acids are the brains of the operation. They encode the information necessary for cells to make proteins, and are therefore the control center for cell operations.